You're not like other women, and let me tell you something, that right there. That shakes a man to his core. Because most men are used to patterns. They're used to women who explain too much, accept too little, and stay even when they shouldn't. So when you walk into his life calm, confident, and complete, he doesn't know what to do with you. You don't beg for attention. You don't fight for love. You don't audition for a role you already deserve. And that confuses him. What makes you different isn't something you announce. It's something a man feels the moment he experiences you. Your difference isn't loud. It's not dramatic. And it's not trying to compete for attention. It's subtle, steady, and grounded. And that's exactly why it shakes him. Most men are used to noise. They're used to women explaining themselves, proving their worth, and bending just enough to be liked. Then you show up calm, centered, and unbothered, and suddenly the rules he's been living by don't work anymore. You don't force conversation when silence appears. You don't rush to fill space with insecurity. You don't chase validation or reassurance. You're comfortable with who you are, and that comfort creates a quiet power. A man can feel when a woman is trying too hard, and he can feel when she isn't trying at all, when she's simply being. That kind of presence unsettles him because it removes control. He can't predict you. He can't manipulate you with distance or attention. You don't react the way he expects. See, when you don't overact, he starts to overthink. When you don't panic, he starts questioning himself. When you don't demand explanations, he starts wondering if he's the one falling behind. Your calm becomes a mirror, and what he sees reflected back isn't always comfortable. He realizes you're not operating from fear. You're not afraid to lose him, and that's new territory for him. Your difference shows up in how you listen without absorbing nonsense, how you observe without accusing, and how you move without seeking permission. You don't need to be the loudest woman in the room to be the most memorable. You don't need to prove your value because you live it. And that kind of quiet confidence presses on a man's mind. It makes him slow down. It makes him pay attention. It makes him realize he's dealing with someone who isn't easily replaced. You don't give away access to your emotions just because someone shows interest. You don't rush intimacy to create connection. You let things unfold naturally, and that patience is rare. A man can sense when a woman is emotionally disciplined. He knows he can't rush her, can't rush the process, can't rush commitment just to benefit himself. That restraint challenges him because now effort matters. Your difference is also in what you don't tolerate. You don't laugh at disrespect. You don't normalize inconsistency. You don't accept confusion as romance. And you don't argue to be understood. You simply adjust your position based on how you're treated. That's the part that really shakes him, because now he understands that every action has weight. Every choice has consequences. You don't threaten to walk away, but you carry the energy of someone who can. You're present, but not attached to an outcome that costs your self-respect. You enjoy him, but you're not impressed by potential alone. You pay attention to patterns, not promises. And when a man realizes he's being evaluated instead of entertained, it changes how he moves. Your difference is felt in your absence too. When you step back, there's no chaos, no mess, no emotional explosion. There's just space. And in that space, he feels the shift. He notices the peace you brought. He notices the balance you added. He notices that things felt different with you, lighter, clearer, more intentional. That's when it sinks in. This woman wasn't like the others. She didn't drain him. She didn't pressure him. She didn't lose herself in him. You didn't need to say you were different. You showed it. You don't chase, you choose, and that alone separates you from most women a man has encountered. A man is used to being pursued in subtle ways, extra messages, quick replies, emotional availability without consistency on his side. He's used to effort being met with more effort from the woman, even when he hasn't earned it. Then you come along and flip the script. You don't rush toward him just because he shows interest. You pause, you observe, you decide, and that decision-making energy unsettles him because now he's no longer in control of the pace. You enjoy his attention, but you're not intoxicated by it. You don't rearrange your life to fit into his schedule. You don't drop your priorities because he finally called. You move with intention, not excitement. And when a man realizes that his presence is appreciated but not required, it changes how he shows up. He understands that access to you is earned, not automatic. You don't send messages just to be remembered. You don't chase clarity through endless conversations. You don't try to secure your position by overgiving. Instead, you let your energy speak for itself. You're warm but not desperate, interested but not invested too early. That balance is rare, and it makes a man lean in. He starts to question why you're not doing what others have done. He wonders why you're not trying harder. He wonders why he's trying more. When you choose instead of chase, you create space for a man to reveal who he really is. You give him room to show consistency or inconsistency, intention or confusion. You don't interrupt his behavior by rescuing the situation. You let things be what they are. And that's uncomfortable for a man who's used to women filling in the gaps for him emotionally. You don't ask for constant reassurance. You don't need daily validation to feel secure. Your confidence doesn't come from how often he calls or how quickly he responds. It comes from knowing that if someone wants to be in your life, they'll make the effort without being coached. And that mindset shifts the power dynamic without you ever saying a word. You're not afraid to lose someone who isn't aligned with you. You understand that chasing a man who isn't choosing you is a betrayal of self. So you wait not passively, but intentionally. You allow attraction to grow naturally. And when a man feels that you're not clinging, not pushing, not forcing, he starts to feel the weight of responsibility. Now it's on him to step forward. Your choosing energy shows up in how you respond. You don't react emotionally to uncertainty. You respond logically to patterns. You don't argue about effort. You notice it. You don't demand time. You see who makes it. That calm awareness makes a man nervous because he knows you're paying attention. He knows he's being evaluated, not pursued. When you finally do choose him, it means something. It's not because you needed him. It's because he showed up in a way that matched your standards. And a man can feel that difference. Being chosen by a woman who didn't chase is powerful. It makes him protective of the connection. It makes him careful with your heart, because he knows if he fumbles, you won't run after him to fix it. You don't threaten to leave, but your energy says you're not afraid to walk away. You don't hold on out of fear of being alone. You hold on because the connection is mutual, balanced, and respectful. And when a man realizes he's with a woman who could leave but stays by choice, it humbles him. You don't chase, you choose. Your standards expose his intentions in a way words never could. A man can talk all day about what he wants, what he plans to do, and who he says he's becoming, but when he meets a woman with real standards, talk stops working. You don't argue about what you deserve. You don't debate basic respect. You don't negotiate consistency. You simply expect it, and that expectation immediately puts pressure on his intentions. You're not impressed by charm alone. You listen closely, but you watch even closer. You pay attention to follow through, to effort, to how he shows up when there's nothing in it for him. Your standards are quiet but firm, and that firmness unsettles a man who isn't solid in his purpose. He realizes he can't perform for you. He has to be real. Most men are used to women lowering expectations just to keep the connection alive. They're used to being forgiven quickly, excused often, and believed without proof. But you don't operate that way. You don't ignore red flags and call it patience. You don't accept mixed signals and call it depth. You don't confuse potential with progress. And that clarity makes a man uncomfortable because it removes all hiding places. Your standards force him to ask himself hard questions. Am I ready for this level of woman? Can I lead, protect, and be consistent? Do my actions match my words? You don't ask him these questions directly. Your presence asks them for you. And a man who isn't prepared will feel the pressure immediately. He'll either rise to meet you or retreat to what feels easier. You don't punish him for mistakes, but you don't overlook patterns either. You understand the difference between a slip and a lifestyle. You don't explode emotionally to get compliance. You simply adjust your access. That's what really exposes him. Because now he has to decide if he's willing to do the work to stay connected to you. Your standards aren't about control, they're about self-respect. You don't try to mold a man into what you want. You observe who he already is. You allow him to reveal himself without interference. And when his behavior doesn't align with your values, you don't argue. You disengage. That quiet withdrawal speaks louder than any confrontation. A man can feel when a woman knows exactly what she wants. There's no confusion, no emotional bargaining, no waiting around hoping things will change. You move with clarity. And clarity is intimidating to someone who benefits from ambiguity. When a man realizes he can't keep you in a gray area, he understands that half effort won't work. Your standards also show him that love isn't something he gets just because he wants it. Love is a responsibility. It requires consistency, honesty, and presence. You don't rush emotional access. You don't offer girlfriend benefits without girlfriend behavior. And that structure challenges a man to be intentional. When he notices that you don't bend your values to keep him comfortable, he starts to see you differently. You're not emotional leverage. You're not a convenience. You're not a backup plan. You're a woman who knows her worth and protects it. And that realization hits deep. Some men will walk away when faced with standards, not because the standards are too high, but because their intentions aren't strong enough. Others will step up, sharpen their focus, and move with purpose. Either way, your standards do their job. They reveal truth. You don't have to interrogate a man to know who he is. Your standards tell you everything. Your self-respect is the turning point because it removes confusion and replaces it with clarity. A man can sense when a woman values herself not because she says it, but because of what she allows and what she refuses. You don't lecture him about respect. You demonstrate it through your choices. You don't stay in situations that drain you. You don't tolerate behavior that contradicts your values. And that forces a man into a decision he can't avoid. When a woman lacks self-respect, a man can stay comfortable. He can be inconsistent and still be welcomed. He can disappear and return without consequence. He can give minimum effort and receive maximum access. But when you carry yourself with self-respect, that comfort disappears. Now his actions matter. Now his words are being measured. Now he feels the pressure to show up correctly or lose access altogether. You don't argue to be treated right. You don't beg to be prioritized. You don't explain why consistency matters to you. You simply move accordingly. And that's what makes a man uncomfortable in the best way, because now he can't rely on charm or excuses. He can't hide behind potential. He has to make a choice, either rise to the level you require or step away to somewhere easier. Your self-respect shows up in how you respond to disappointment. You don't explode emotionally. You don't try to punish him with drama. You stay calm, but you don't stay available. You create distance where distance is needed. And that calm withdrawal speaks louder than any argument. It tells him you're serious about your peace. A man feels it when he's dealing with a woman who won't sacrifice herself to keep him comfortable. He realizes that you won't shrink to make him feel bigger. You won't settle just to be chosen. And that realization shakes him because it means he's dealing with someone who won't compromise her dignity for affection. Your self-respect also means you're not afraid of being alone. You understand that loneliness in the wrong relationship is worse than solitude with peace. You don't cling to attention just to avoid silence. You don't confuse attention with effort. And when a man sees that you're not afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve you, he understands that staying with you is a privilege, not a guarantee. You don't threaten to leave. You don't issue ultimatums. You simply live in alignment with your values. And that alignment forces a man to check himself. He asks, can I give her what she needs? Am I ready to be consistent? Am I willing to be intentional? Those questions don't come from pressure. They come from the respect he feels for you. Some men will rise. They'll become more focused, more present, more intentional because they don't want to lose a woman like you. They'll step up not because you demanded it, but because your self-respect inspired it. And that's the kind of growth that lasts. Other men will step away, not because you did anything wrong, but because your self-respect exposed what they weren't ready to give. And that's not a loss, that's protection. Because a man who leaves when faced with standards was never meant to stay. Your self-respect doesn't chase, convince, or correct. It simply creates a standard that speaks for itself. And when a man encounters a woman who knows her worth and stands firm in it, he understands one thing very clearly. This woman will not bend herself to fit into a situation that doesn't honor her. That's when he steps up or steps away. Your emotional maturity is what disrupts his comfort zone because it removes drama and replaces it with depth. A man is often used to emotional reactions, arguments that go in circles, conflicts fueled by ego, feelings expressed without understanding. He expects intensity to mean connection. Then he meets you and you respond differently. You don't explode to be heard. You don't shut down to be protected. You communicate with clarity, and that clarity shakes him because it forces accountability. You understand your emotions without being controlled by them. You don't deny how you feel, but you don't let feelings run the relationship either. When something bothers you, you address it calmly. When something doesn't align, you take note. You don't turn every issue into a battle. You choose peace over proving a point. And that choice changes the dynamic immediately. A man feels it when a woman isn't reactive. He realizes he can't provoke you into chaos. He can't test your boundaries for entertainment. He can't confuse you with mixed signals and then hide behind excuses. Your emotional maturity removes the game. And when the game is gone, all that's left is truth. You don't need constant reassurance because you trust yourself. You don't spiral when communication slows. You don't assume rejection where there's uncertainty. You observe patterns instead of creating stories. That steadiness unsettles a man who's used to emotional volatility because now he's the one questioning. Now he's the one wondering where he stands. You also know how to listen without absorbing disrespect. You don't internalize someone else's confusion. You don't carry emotional weight that isn't yours. You separate what belongs to you from what belongs to him. And that emotional discipline is rare. A man can feel that you're not projecting, not assuming, not reacting from past wounds. You're present, and presence demands honesty. Your maturity shows in how you handle conflict. You don't fight to win. You talk to understand. You don't use silence as punishment. You don't use words as weapons. You don't bring up the past to dominate the present. You stay focused on resolution, not control. That level of communication forces a man to grow because childish behavior doesn't work with you. You don't make excuses for emotional unavailability. You don't romanticize inconsistency. You don't try to heal a man by sacrificing yourself. You understand that empathy doesn't mean endurance. And when a man realizes you won't stay in emotional chaos just to prove loyalty, it wakes him up. Your emotional maturity also allows you to detach without resentment.